Welcome to the Zonos Sports Show, where you know Zonos. It's a nice Thursday morning, and let me say, the World Series was on last night, and I did truly enjoy it. The Cubs, they break through a 100-year window. Finally, they eclipsed that point that they've always tried to get past about the Billy Goat and the Black Cat, and about Steve Bartman getting in the way of that foul ball. All that history's erased. This was an instant classic to the end, folks. And let me say, it did end all of Chicago's grief. They're on the north side. The Chicago Cubs finally win the World Series. They break through. Very happy for the Cubs. And like I said, bye-bye to that Billy Goat. And hello, Steve Bartman. Show your face, sir. Come out of the dark. 6-4 game last night. Late into that game, the Cubs jumped out to a lead. They were up the entire game, but there was a moment in the bottom of that eighth inning when Rajai Davis hits the homer against Aroldis Chapman, and I was shocked. It was a moment that stopped the hearts in Chicago, okay? I was really shocked when Rajai Davis, a 35-year-old player who's been good for quite a long time, steps up there in such a tense moment and makes that type of play. It was epic. It was like a slam dunk or a long touchdown pass with 2 seconds left. That was why people want to enjoy and love baseball. Those people who don't watch baseball, it was a perfect game as far as excitement goes and all the drama that was involved. I really enjoyed watching. And when Rajai Davis hits that home run, I get a little bit worried. You got Aroldis Chapman, a big money guy who's looking to get paid once he's a free agent, who comes in from New York, helps out Chicago as their closer. But he got really tight last night in that game. And Joe Maddon, I think he did a phenomenal job of managing. He had the manager's touch. He pulled pitchers when he needed to. After Chapman struggled, what he did was insert the young guy, Mr. Carl Edwards. Not Carl Edwards, but Edwards Jr., the young pitcher, played it. I think he played at Charleston Southern. But they had a rain delay once he hits that home run, Rajai Davis, and it was pretty eerie. Like maybe the Cubs were supposed to win the World Series this year. I'm not sure if they were supposed to win it or not, but that rain delay was slithered in a little bit surreptitiously, should I say. So Joe Maddon taking it upon himself to pull Chapman and place in a fresh pitcher, I think really helped out the Cubs because Chapman unraveled. We did see that, which maybe that'll affect him getting big money from the Cubs. Maybe he's looking for, Von Miller money, and I'll get to that in a moment. But Aroldis Chapman, he almost gave it up. But the rain delay in the 10th inning really saved the Cubs, I think. This, for me, was definitely the game that saved baseball. You know, a lot of people talk about the numbers of minority baseball players and how they're down, and you have a situation where a lot of these kids nowadays, they look to play basketball or football because they just feel like baseball's boring. Well, if I had a kid that said that baseball was boring and they watched last night's game, I'd have to argue and say that son or daughter is not boring, okay? But definitely, I think that the Cubs, they did a lot last night for the city of Chicago, and they ended a lot of heartbreak that's been there for so many years. So this, for me, was the game that saved and transcended everything baseball was about. The bottom of the ninth, the bottom of the 10th inning, the chance of a walk-off, and the big home run to tie it. This was the game that everything happened like it was supposed to happen. And I think Cleveland, they're a good team. They'll have a chance to get back there to the World Series. However, Chicago, Theo Epstein's done a great job of putting them together over the last few years. Getting Chris Bryant, getting Addison Russell, Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, Kyle Schwarber. I could go on and on and on of these hitters and the pitching staff they brought in. That midseason acquisition of Aroldis Chapman was key because he did win a lot of games for them, but he was a little shaky last night. But I think this was a World Series that could maybe salvage the city of Chicago. There's a lot of violence that goes on there with guns and things like that. So maybe this is something, even though it was on the north side, could affect the south side. People want to celebrate winners. And considering the White Sox already won a World Series, I think back in '05, I don't see why the entire city won't celebrate the Cubs finally breaking through that figurative wall and winning a World Series. So, great game last night that I think inherently may have saved baseball. So, great job. Also, we can move over to the NFL. Got a few things I want to talk about and touch on. The Patriots the other day had the big thing, the big slash, the big kahuna when they trade off Jamie Collins to the Cleveland Browns. Oh, man. The lackluster, the terrible, the bottom of the barrel, bottom of the chip bag Cleveland Browns. And, I mean, I don't blame them for trading Jamie Collins because, honestly, he should not have pocket watched. From what he was saying and from what people were hearing, the type of money he wanted was Von Miller money. Now, I don't think Jamie Collins is a bad player, but I don't think Jamie Collins is worth 6 years, $114.5 million. No, sir. I mean, Jamie Collins, you don't even play full time, and then on top of that, you're not making as big of an impact on special teams that you were before. So, to me, that's a guy that's too expensive, that's declining. Not necessarily as age wise, but as a player, he's become I won't say one dimensional, but not multifaceted, if that makes sense. So I don't think that was a terrible move by the Patriots trading Jamie Collins. Yeah, maybe they could have sent him somewhere else, but Jamie Collins already winning that Super Bowl. He's probably okay with it. He's in Cleveland. That city's hot, so he shouldn't have a problem going to Cavaliers games and checking out the Indians from time to time because that's a good sports town. And the Browns eventually, hopefully, will come along. And one thing I don't want to happen for him, Johnny went crazy in Cleveland. Maybe there's something in the Lake Erie waters that I don't know about, but I hope Jamie Collins, that doesn't happen to him because he's been a decent player his entire career. But don't let Cleveland drive you crazy, Jamie. Just chill, man. Now, also, Thursday night, Falcons play the Buccaneers. They beat them 31-24 the first time the Bucs did the Falcons. And I think that's when the Falcons were undefeated, if I'm not mistaken. This is round 2 of Matt Ryan versus famous Jameis. Matty Ice versus the man from Florida State. I look forward to seeing this game. They both got a bunch of touchdowns. Matty Ice, 19 TDs. Jameis, he's got 14. No Jacob Tamme and Tevin Coleman for Atlanta. But Julio's in the house. Julio's in the house. When he's in the house, he's the guy that can jump out of the house, top of the roof of the stadium, and make one-handed catches and power and out-muscle defenders. So I think Julio's a guy who will do great things for this organization for many years to come, and he's great for the Falcons. So also, Atlanta has to get the split, okay? And I don't mean bananas. This is a division game. They've already lost once to the Buccaneers, so they can't afford to lose twice to a team like the Buccaneers. If Atlanta, in fact, wants to go ahead and win that division and solidify a playoff spot, they can't lose 2 games to the Bucs, especially with their porous defense. And the Falcons' defense isn't that great either. Also, another game I'm interested in seeing, the Eagles versus the Giants, both 4-3. This is division games. The Giants got busted up in October, early October, but they won 2 straight. The Eagles are in the midst of a storm, and that rain hasn't let up yet. Ever since they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 34-3, they've been losing games every other week. 3 out of the last 4 they've lost, to be exact. So I'm anxious to see, can the Eagles turn that around? They just can't seem to find any continuity on offense. Doug Peterson's got to call better plays, and that defense has got to play better for Philadelphia. They got to play like they were playing early in the year. Give Carson Wentz time O-line, and he'll make plays. He's a 5-time champion, okay? 5 straight is what his school won in North Dakota State. So don't forget that. He's a proven winner. Also, I mean, I really think that they need to get away from relying on Smallwood so much. Get Darren Sproles the ball. Let him work with it. They were great early in the year, but then they fell from the sky as if it was an Alfred Hitchcock movie, if you've ever seen The Birds. So, division sauce in that game. We'll see what happens. Now, the game that I'm so anxious to see is the hottest team in the league versus the Cleveland Pop Warner Browns. The Dallas Cowboys going to Cleveland this weekend. This is the type of game that the Cowboys will lose if they are truly the same old Cowboys. Now, I believe that the Cowboys are not the same Cowboys. I believe that they are not the accident waiting to happen that Stephen A. Smith on First Take always talks about. I think the Cowboys are a legit contender, but they'll have to prove it to me. I really think if they can do that, win this game handedly by blowing out the Browns, for me personally, that will let me know that they are for real. They're not the same old Browns, the accident waiting to happen. So Dallas, blow them out, make us believers. I mean, the Browns, they're not that good at all. Even their fans aren't the best. Come on, I mean, the fans were on Come On Man for holding up signs and spelling the word dog pound wrong. I mean, this place isn't even really a dog pound right now. It's more like the kennel. So, Dallas, handle business. College football playoff rankings just hit the fan Tuesday. Our top 10, Alabama, they're the undisputed champion on the field. They've won all their games this year. Number 2, Clemson, weathered all storms, beat Florida State, beat Louisville at home. Michigan, Harbaugh settling in the saddle. Ohio State, they've lost a game, so Michigan knows all they have to do is keep winning and beat the Bucks, and they'll be able to do what they need to do as far as their championship path goes. Texas A&M at number 4 played Alabama tight, but they are a good team, I think. They beat Tennessee double overtime. Of course, Tennessee had a lot of injuries in that game, but Texas A&M, they've been winning all the games they're supposed to win. They beat Auburn as well, so I don't have a problem with them being at number 4 with one loss. Washington, they're in the sweet spot. They're right at number 5. People would say, oh, why'd they get left out? No, they're right where they need to be. They'll play with a chip on their shoulder. Once the smoke clears, I think Washington, as long as they win out, can get into the college football playoff because they won't put 2 SEC West teams simply because there's too much that will happen. Ohio State at number 6. They had the loss to Penn State. Louisville, I think what really hurts them is all their close games they've been playing lately. The one against Duke, the one against Virginia, they just haven't been dominating people. That Florida State win doesn't look as good because Florida State, they've got the 3 losses now. So I think Louisville's got a lot of ground to make up, and they've got a lot of things they need to happen. That Houston game doesn't mean as much. Wisconsin, they've had the tight losses to Michigan and Ohio State, but I think Wisconsin, as long as they play the way they're supposed to play, and if they win that Big Ten championship, they could get into the playoff. Auburn at number 9 lost to Clemson and lost to Texas A&M. Both 2 of those teams are in the top 4. Also, Nebraska, they're a one-loss team, just lost to Wisconsin, but as I stated previously in many other episodes, Nebraska just does not win those close games when they need to win them. They can't win the big games. So I think they'll end up possibly, I don't know, somewhere Cotton Bowl. No, they're a Big Ten team. So that maybe Outback Bowl or somewhere along those lines. So, I mean, we'll have to see where the Nebraska Cornhuskers end up. In the NBA, the Celtics last night knocked off the Bulls from the unbeatens. Rondo, stop shooting threes, man. Come on, that's not your game. Just dish that ball, get a little layup, mid-range maybe, but get away from the three-point line, Rondo. Stop it. Also, Westbrook, he scored 35 against the Clippers. He's still playing like an angry bird. Westbrook, continue to dominate, sir. That's the only way your team will continue to win. The Thunder are still undefeated simply because Russell Westbrook's been playing at this level. There's a 2-day indulgence the next 2 days. Thunder versus Warriors tonight. I'll be watching that. And then tomorrow, on Friday night, you've got Warriors and Lakers. I'm anxious to see the young Lakers and Luke Walton take on his former team, the Golden State Warriors. So we'll see how that turns out in the Staples Center. Now, definitely, Zoners, keep watching next week. I'll be doing a college basketball preview. Of course, the Carrier Classic is next Friday. Hopefully the floor stays okay this year and they don't have to cancel it. Again, to the Chicago Cubs, congrats for ending a long drought. I know this championship means so much to all the fans in the city of Chicago. So many years of crying. People like Harry Carey and Ernie Banks didn't get to see it, but everybody else in Chicago did. So soak it in. Let it marinate. Let this be the thing that puts you to sleep for the next week, 2 weeks, okay? Happy championship to the Chicago Cubs. What a World Series. Thank you for watching Zonos, where you know Zonos.